Welcome to another edition of the Black Wealth Experience podcast. And this is your host, Brian Arnold. And we're just today just excited. I can't even say how excited I am about today and being able to not only talk about Black wealth, but just talk about our communities in general and the things that we've been doing over the last years. And, when you think about, somebody once told me, he says, where success leaves clues. And when you look at somebody who's been successful and has a fulfilled life and the different things that go along with that, one of the things that you find out is that there are so many people that have done well that sometimes we don't get to talk to. And today we're meeting with Barbra Shannon Banister, and she has been a pillar in our community for so many years. And when I think of folks that I want to emulate, or think of folks that have gone before me, or think of folks that have done things that I want to be able to do, we have to learn from that. We say if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. But at the same time, if we do learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it, and that can be in a great way. And when we start talking about wealth and we start talking about ways to leave a legacy, I don't think there's a better person than that we could be able to talk to today about that. I continue to talk about, hey, whether it's home ownership, which I think is the number one way to start to be able to create personal wealth as well as generational wealth. But there's so many other things that go along with it, because it does take a village in our world. It does take a community of people that walk alongside you. I don't think anybody gets to where they want to be or have this successful life without others. And Dr. Bannister, I'm just so excited that you have decided to come on today. And if you would just kind of give us the grace of just giving us a little bit of your history, where you came from, what are the things that you are excited about, or were excited about in your life, but are excited about now. Maybe we can just kind of go back and forth and begin this dialogue that can help others be able to achieve some of the success that you've been able to have in your life.
Well, you've said so much. I mean, where else is there to go? You can just say the end and have whatever the little thing comes up. Somebody standing there with that little robe on or whatever, or the Statue of Liberty or whatever. You just pumped me up so high till, oh my goodness, I'm just floating around in here. But the main thing is God.
Amen.
That's my thing. I say to everybody, what you see is me, but it's not me by myself. I am not what do they used to say, a bag of potato chips and all that. I'm not. I'm not that unless God is behind me. I try to, and then I don't always do the right things, and I don't always follow what I'm supposed to follow. I was reading something in my devotion this morning that said, if you believe in God and if you believe in the things that God stands for, you can, when bad things happen to you, you don't have to respond to bad things. You can respond, but you can respond in goodness and forgiveness and calmness. Now, there are times I think we haven't taught our kids that you don't, just because someone smacks you, you don't go get a gun or whatever, or you smack her back and now it's going to be a fight or something. You can, or somebody let's say bumps into you, and you don't, and you get upset that they bumped into you, and they say excuse me, but yet you want to get angry about it, but you don't have to, because if you're trying to be much more conscious of the people around you and much more conscious about humanity and much more conscious about people and things, you can take and I won't say the high road, I'll say you can take the calm road. You don't have to respond with the same kind of energy that was presented to you, or the energy that you can ascribe to, is that you back off and you say, okay, yeah, I understand. And you take the calm energy. So I think those are the things that have helped me. And I didn't learn all of that as a young woman. I've learned a lot of that as being an old woman. That, I really had lots of battles in my young days in school and stuff. And sometimes I sit and wonder, who did I get it for? Did I get it from someone? Was it something influenced by my father or my mother or my grandparents, or was something? When what I mean by that, some strain of something. And when I say strain of something, some kind of way they acted. Did some of that get picked up in the young children and so forth? Because I don't think all the time that we learn it just out of the air.
Yeah,
I think sometimes that you have certain traits that you see in other people that you say, he acts just like his uncle.
Yeah.
Oh, or gosh. He acts just like his brother.
His brother, yes.
Or she acts just like her auntie. You see those traits.
And
I think we have not begun to not all the time understand that sometimes it's that because we aren't controlling what we're doing, that we act like somebody that somebody else can point out in the family.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I last night I was doing, I do just a daily social media. It is Brian's Mindset Daily, and last night I was talking about the difference between knowledge and wisdom, and I said, knowledge is knowing, the rules of the road and how to drive. Wisdom is knowing when to let somebody in when they're trying to get in.
Right.
And I think so much of what you're talking about right now is it's that wisdom that we get as we get older that allows us to that calm road that you're talking about, or that road. I mean, we are spirited and we want to get things done, but then there's that wisdom that I think God gives us over time. And you kind of wish, man, I wish I would have had the wisdom of Solomon and being able to, at a young age, have all that stuff. But it's experiential, it's that experiences that we do that teaches us that. So I 100% agree with what you're saying. Absolutely.
And that's the way I had to explain it, because it's not necessarily. My sister, who is deceased, she died of breast cancer many years ago, but she was not afraid of anything. And I look back with the two of us. Now, I was older than she was. I was 4 years older, and I was a scary cat. And she was not afraid of anything. And I thought, I used to think, why is she not afraid, and why am I afraid? What's the difference in us? We came from the same parents. I didn't see those traits in my mother or my father, and I still don't see where they came from, but that's just the way it was. It just was that way, and that was it. I mean, she wasn't afraid of the dark. She wasn't afraid of doing cartwheels, and that's something easy. So some kids can just do cartwheels. I never tried to do cartwheels. Now, I might have been able to do it, but I was scared to do it.
Gotcha.
And I don't know how to say that any different. I didn't trust that I wouldn't do it and break my neck.
No, I hear you. You think of our siblings and how God has created us and how much different they are. My sister writes vampire books and does very well. She's she gets to be home and be an author. And I'm like, we had the same parents, same mom, same dad, same relatives. Where did the stuff that she writes about the vampires
where did it come from?
Yeah, where does that come from?
Yeah, where does it come from?
Yeah.
I've begun to watch a series called what is it? Young Sheldon. Just happened to it's about the family that has twins. Well, they had one older boy who's a normal child, and then they had twins, and the girl is the normal girl, normality, and the boy is just way out there. He has the brain of a scientist 100 years old, and he's much different. And you look at that and you think, is that the way things happen?
Yeah.
When you look at it and you see other families, I mean, kids who are prodigies. Child sits down at 4 years old and can play Beethoven and can play Mozart. Where did that come from? Is that reincarnation? I know we've gotten away from saying things like that, but let me get off of that subject.
Oh, gotcha. Well, one of the questions I do want to ask you is, the name of the podcast is The Black Wealth Experience. And, when people hear the word wealth, they many times think of, money and material things. But wealth goes so much further beyond what we can have materially. And so you've had such a an extensive and incredible life, and you still have. I mean, not that it's stopping, but what are some of the things that you would attribute to ways to create some of the wealth of spirit, the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of even money, if we want to talk about money as well? What are some of those secrets that you may be able to share with the listeners here as to what does it take?
Inclusiveness.
Okay.
I can measure that. I'll go back where I started from in just a few minutes, back to Louisiana, New Orleans. But when I think about from the time I retired from the city of Aurora in 2018, and I was in a meeting, this is 2023, and how things have changed so drastically in our city that I love. I mean, I tell people all the time, I didn't just drive through here and my car broke down and I decided to stay. No, I purposely flew in here on the weekends to look for a place to live from Casper, Wyoming. But let me go back. When I lived in New Orleans, a segregated South, where Black folks it was not easy for them to get registered to vote because they had to know we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, could not read that preamble. And they would, every time they'd go to register, they might get all upset because they'd say, read this line or read that line. And it was not, they had always learned it from memory and in a certain order, and so they could always be flustered. So, okay, my father was doing that kind of work in terms of his community and he was a forerunner of the insurance business. And so I was a part of his entourage that went and helped people to learn it in whatever order that preamble was. And I remember doing something like maybe 4 months ago with the Martin Luther King group, and I asked how many young people in here know the preamble. Not many, but how many adults in here know it? Mm-hmm. And I said we ought to just, at least, if they don't learn anything else about our Constitution and everything, learn the preamble and identify it and say, this is what we're supposed to be all about. Well, okay, from New Orleans, my husband got an opportunity to come to Casper, Wyoming, because one of the television stations was going to have its first free station in Casper, and they were looking for people with electronic technology. And so we moved to Casper, Wyoming. My daughter was, I think, 4 months old. We lived in Casper, Wyoming for 10 years. They thought I was a plant from the NAACP.
Oh, wow.
So they couldn't figure out why these people had come all the way from New Orleans, Louisiana, with a 4-month-old. Either they're crazy or something's the matter. Mm-hmm. It had to be a reason. I don't think it ever clicked on their minds that it was because I didn't want to raise my daughter in a segregated South.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so, because I had been fortunate enough to, with my family, to have traveled other places, so I knew there were other things. Mm-hmm. I knew segregation was in other places too. But we got the opportunity to leave New Orleans, went to Casper, Wyoming, stayed there through a lot of things that happened with the Black 14. Mm-hmm. I know some of you may know about that when they dismissed 14 Black football players from the University of Wyoming because they wore their black armbands in protest to the LDS church and the LDS players. They came back from the game. They had their bands on, and the coach dismissed them. They lost their scholarships and everything else. Had a terrible time during that time. But I think it still was a God that kept us safe because we could have been killed.
Of course.
And nobody would have ever known what happened to the Banisters packed up and left.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What a scary time.
Yeah, but we were young. Mm-hmm. And we were churchgoers, and I think we still had the essence of God in us. And I think that's what protected us, not because we were so smart. and so crafty or anything. And not because anybody else wanted to protect us or anything. They said they were going to take my husband's job. That when we leave the house, they'd call up and say nasty things to my kids. So that meant somebody was watching us. So those things happened, but yet we were inclusive. We were ingrained in the community.
Okay.
They knew we were there. And I think that is another part of the godliness that God has surrounded us, the hedge. That's what I'd like to call it. Because otherwise, I might not be sitting here talking to you now.
Yeah. Wow.
And so then we left. We stayed in Casper, and we left and came to Denver. And a lot of things happened along the way. And then I went to work. I became a VISTA volunteer because I wanted to do something, because I got bored sitting at home, not doing anything, not getting out in the community. And that's where it started with Aurora.
Okay. So that's where you. So that was in Aurora, or that job, the VISTA was in Aurora, where you volunteered.
Oh yeah, VISTA. I was one of the Aurora people. That was doing the energy crunch.
Okay.
And when they were asking people not to have their Christmas lights on and conserve with water and all that, and so I volunteered to be a VISTA volunteer, and I used to travel from here to Commerce City every morning. My husband would say to me, "You know, you got." He's the craziest woman I've ever seen. He said, "They're not paying you anything, but you get up and go to work as if you were getting a big salary." And I said, "It still means the same to me. It doesn't matter whether I'm getting paid. It's awesome. Not a matter. It's what I'm doing in the community." And sure, I learned how to install solar panels on rooftops. Of course, I wouldn't get on there again now.
Yeah.
I know how to insulate houses. I know what kind of R value should be in the walls and stuff. So I learned a lot of things that I could do for my own house when we got in our own house.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's and that kind of connection with the community is what sustains you.
Yeah.
When I was just saying a minute ago, things have changed so much in the city of Aurora. I am a good person for gathering people to assist me, to be in a community, to be in an organization. If you can get people to be in an organization with you and work alongside of you, where else can you go but up?
Wow. I heard once that some, and I've said this many times, that they say that who you become in life is based on one, what you read, and two, who you associate with. And as you're saying this, exclusiveness exclusiveness, to be able to understand other people and be with other people. How important is it that you have a community that helps you move forward? And I know when I say that, because we're all in community. I mean, we get up every morning and we go to work and we interact with people at the grocery store and other places. But to be intentional about a community, how big of a deal is that over a lifetime to understand success and to have this thing called happiness, or whatever it is that we're pursuing in life? What have you learned through that, associations of people and the things that you've read that have made the biggest difference?
Well, I think I would say it's 90%. I think 10% of what I've done, what I've accomplished, is probably Barbara and her hard-headedness and that I can do it. But I also know, I think it's 90% of what you just said. The people I hang out with, and I don't hang out with people much. I use that term loosely. I'm an introvert. Would you believe that? People tell me that's not true.
Wow.
And I tell them, yes, I am an introvert, but I rise to the occasion. If you give me something to do and I accept it, you can believe, come death or whatever, I'm gonna fulfill it.
Wow.
So therefore, you can count on me. If I say yes, I'm going to do it, you can count on me to do it. Now, that's what a lot of us haven't learned. If you give your word, and there are times when you don't have anything else but your word, because that's all someone is asking you to do and to be. Someone, and sometimes you say yes to things that you know you can't do, and then you bail out at the last minute. Someone called me yesterday and said, Barbara, and this is the way they started out with, I know you know a lot of folks and all that, so I know exactly what it's going to be. They've already tipped off to me what's going to happen. They're going to ask me to do something. I know that.
Yeah.
Because I know what the rhetoric is. And you know all these people and so forth. And then I thought to myself, I know this person who's calling me knows all these kind of people too. And she was calling asking me, can you recommend somebody to do this and do that and do this? And I said, I think you can go and recommend people yourself. You're just asking me for something just to verify, to make sure that you're looking for the right person. And I called her back later on that day and I said, yes, I found someone that can do such and such, and I found someone who can do Dinah Ross. I said, so I hadn't thought of those people, but here are the names, etc. But I think it's what the word I want to use, it's the embracing.
Okay.
There is I was just thinking the other day, I have so many mentees. And so many people want to be a mentee of mine, and I don't see it as being that. I just see that I see a young person, a younger person, and they want to be a part of the group I have. And it's not groupies. I don't mean it that way.
Yeah.
But they want to say they're glad to say I'm one of her mentees. If somebody says I'm her mentee, and they say, well, I'm one too. So that means a lot to them. So I see how that stacks up, and how if someone says I'm BSB's mentee, well, they know if they're my mentee, they're doing good things.
Absolutely.
And so that's what they want to be. And then I have what we call there's another bunch of ladies that I have divas. Now the divas are different. A lot of the divas are divas in their own right.
Of course.
They can mentor, and that's what they should be doing. Because when I was thinking about it, let me just say this: I was thinking about my funeral, and I was thinking about, okay, if my divas are there and my mentees are there, are they going to dress alike? Now here I am sitting down thinking about these things. Are they going to dress alike, and are they going to be doing the same things? Will our mentees be there? Talking to people and or saying something about what they do and how they do it, etc. And what are the divas going to do? They're going to pounce in there with their evening gowns, looking all sophisticated, but just saying, I'm just one of her divas, that we went to special places together. There's a difference in a diva and a mentee.
Gotcha.
But I was thinking about those kinds of things as if it's going to be, tomorrow or whatever.
Well, we hope not, because we can still learn a whole lot from you. When we talk about legacy, being able to leave a footprint behind, and I know your late husband did just that. In your mind, what are some of the legacy things that you would want people to remember about the life that you led and the things that you did, and be able to take that torch and move it to whatever that next level is?
Okay, I understand what you mean. Absolutely. The NAACP was something that I didn't look. I don't think I was put in place to do that. It happened by circumstance. I was asked. I was the chair of the Human Relations Commission, and they asked me to come and. When the NAACP sent someone to Denver to give testimony about the NAACP, and they asked me to testify, and I told them I would not. I said, I live in Aurora, and it's not fair for me, although I was a member of the Denver branch, but we didn't have an Aurora branch. I said, it's not fair for me to come and criticize or to tell you something about something that's happening in my city when I don't live in Denver. I said, but here's what you can't do for me. And I mean, this was right on the spot. I want to have a branch in my city. I said, because when people get up in front of my city council to say who they are and where they live, if they say they live in Denver, do you know the curtain comes down? People, the council members not going to pay much attention to them. But if they say I live in 80013, whoever's in charge of that particular area is going to pay attention. And they told me what I had to do, and that I had to get so many signatures. And I had a lot of help. It wasn't just me. I had help. We had to get those signatures. I had people, had somebody, well, in fact, the person that's the chair of the national, he and I worked together. Jim Clyburn, he and I worked together in those early days with the civil rights organizations before the cities cut off our ability to travel. And so that's how I got hooked up with those folks. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known them. I wouldn't have known them. There was no way I would have made that connection but I was on the Human Relations Commission. I was chair of the commission. I was going to all these civil rights conferences, etc. And that's how I got known in other places. I just went to, not just went, but like this past summer, early this summer, they were doing some things in Boulder. And somebody who had been with me to the White House said, "Did you call Barbra Shannon Banister?" And they called me like the day before, and me and one of my people from Grandy Drive, we got in the car and drove to Boulder. Because I said if it was important enough for someone to remember that we were there, and this is with the end of the Clinton administration, I said it's important enough for me to get in this car and go across this country and go to this particular event. And it was. And it was, because they are trying to get to the point where we are with an organized NAACP. They've gotten money for a museum, etc., and we will be all the time connected to them. And I'm trying to get other folks to understand that we can't be divided like we are. Yes, we have territories. If there's something happening in Denver, I say, let Denver handle it. Now, if Denver wants help from Aurora, then they'll call on it. If Colorado Springs wants help from Aurora, they'll call on it. Yes, we have the Tri-County, Wyoming, Colorado, and somewhere else, Montana. Yes, we have that Tri-County group, but we don't always connect like we're supposed to. And I think it's because we out here in this part of the country think we are a little bit above the people who are struggling in the South. And we aren't.
Yeah, no.
We have the same kind of struggle, but it's a sophisticated struggle. They don't let us know that we have to come in through the back door.
Gotcha. They don't point to it and say, you got to come out of there. Oh, I got it. Okay. When I think of leadership is, John Maxwell said, leadership is influence, nothing less, nothing more. And I think when we think of leaders, sometimes we think of the national leaders, or the people that are outspoken, or the people that, that we hear from all the time, and they're leading groups of people. And I know you said that you were an introvert, but one of the things that I've noticed, and, I think of the times when I'm around our mayor, and I'm around the folks that are running the city, and you're always kind of in the background there. I see the mayor come and help you around and talk to you, and so I think of the influence that you have on the entire city, but it's not one of those of I have to stand out on a bully pulpit, or I have to be in the chambers and make a lot of noise. What would you say about how did you create some of that influence where you are, one of the major leaders in our city, but you don't have to stand out and tell everybody you are? How does that work?
Because the thing about it is this, that first of all, I've known Mike before he ever got into politics. He was on the Human Relations Commission when I was chair. And the first thing, he was one of the first people, was the police community partnership. Would you believe that?
No. Wow, I did not know. Wow. Okay.
Police officers in where was it? We drove up there, and police officers killed 2 Hispanic Latino youth.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
The Department of Labor called and said, do we have anybody who would come up to this conference, this 2-day conference? And Mike said, yeah, I'll go. And I said, well, I'll go too. And Mike drove, and we went up there. In Longmont, that's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the conference up there, and the Department of Justice said, go back home and initiate a police community partnership. We came back here, we did that, it was going well. Police were getting really, in my opinion, very comfortable talking to us. Anybody who wanted to just drop in and talk about things.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't trying to do anything special, just to come in and talk about the way you are as a police officer, the way you are as a father, the way you are as a brother or an uncle or whatever. And we were doing very well. And the chief of police shut us down.
I had no idea.
Hold on. That's my daughter calling, but I hope that doesn't disturb anything, because I'll get it after a while.
Okay, not a problem.
that's my iPhone on.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it. I know what that's all about. She's calling me about something.
Okay.
But that's the way we got started.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were some Jewish people in there, and that's how I got hooked up with the Jewish community, with the governor's remembrance.
Okay.
I just those things just kind of dropped in my lap.
Okay.
I wasn't out here trying to be a spokesperson or a point person in any of these things. There isn't anything that the Jewish community does now that they don't invite me.
Wow. So it's
not anything, when they call on me to do something, if I can do it, I'll do it.
Okay. So what I see in there then is I see servant leadership here. So it's You're willing to serve, and from the time you were a volunteer, back when you first got to the Denver area to now, your willingness to serve has been the difference that has created the influence and leadership, because it's created those relationships. Correct? Is that kind of
absolutely?
Okay.
Absolutely. There isn't anything. Even though I'm on a cane now, people look at me and say, well, when you gonna stop? You're retired. When you gonna stop doing this? I said, when I leave this what I want to call this, when I leave this whatever this frontier, when God says this is it,
this existence, planet Earth,
then that'll be it.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as I can do it, and as long as He gives me strength and courage to do it, I'll keep doing it. But why? I mean, look at the gangs, look at the things that happened to us because we weren't paying attention to our own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We were not paying attention to our own. There was a time when they called Aurora Little Mississippi.
Wow.
And Paul Poole will tell you that his picture's on the front of one of the newspapers, Aurora Sentinel, that's saying this is Little Mississippi, because they used to say, "Don't be out here after dark." I mean, I was right out here.
And there was truth to that too at that point, right? In time where it wasn't just we're saying it because we're saying it. It was saying it because you shouldn't be out after dark.
That's right.
Because of the relations. And do you think that's
right.
how from that time and then growing up in the South to where we're at now, how far do you think we have come along with, and I would even say our abilities or our opportunities, because it was folks like you who paved the way and did the and marched and worked and served and had this vision of where we could be. And I know we're not where we want to be at this point, but as far as opportunities that are available now, can you kind of just talk about what you see as the opportunities? Because I see some youth. Sometimes I talk to youth and I talk to younger folks, and they kind of see this doomsday belief about our country and where we're at. But I think a lot of it is because they didn't see where we came from.
Where we've come from.
Yeah.
So, that's right. And another thing is, at least. And then I say at least, and we've got a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens with us, we divide our own selves.
Okay.
Instead of us coming together and having, if five of us are invited to go to whatever, Jack and Jill meeting,
mm-hmm.
five of us ought to get together before we go and see where we are.
Gotcha.
And whether five of us have the same thoughts, or do we get in a meeting and so one person says something, but we don't back that person up.
Wow.
You see, they see the division in us, and then we lose that influence because that's what they see.
Yeah,
that's what hurts me.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, with this thing with the attorney general, is he? I thought, my God, how could the city and how could we sit up there and act like we are in agreement with what he's the AG for what he's doing, and we don't know what our city is doing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we don't act like it. People say, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. I said, look, who's going to tell him? Because he thinks he knows.
Yeah.
And so I just believe that's what I think is missing with the NAACP.
Okay.
I think that we have our meetings and we have a lot of things, reports and stuff, but I don't think we sit around and get down to the nitty gritty. What's happening with us? How come we aren't discussing about what the AG's done? How come nobody's talked? I mean, people have come in and talked about it, but we haven't really discussed it, have we?
No, it seems like it's more of an informational, this is what's going on, than a conversation of where we need to go and how we can come together in a community to truly make a difference. Because we can't do it by ourselves. We have to do it together, but we don't have those conversations. You know, we're so, I guess, divided in our lives where we're on the Zooms, we're on the, all just ripping and roaring everywhere we're going. But when do we come together for just thought and conversation?
Well, and that's what I see about you. You're one of the newest people in the community, and look how the influence you have in the community. How many years have you been in the community now?
7 or 8 years, maybe.
Well, I remember when you came as a new face. And look where you are.
Yeah.
Use yourself as an example.
Yeah.
Use yourself. You're not out here trying to, rake up one row of corn because you want it for yourself. You're trying to rake up enough corn for everybody that's standing around.
Yeah. I think
you're trying to reach out to everybody. You're trying to make it happen for everybody, and you're trying to pull other folks along with you. And some people, they're saying, okay, I'll go. And then some people are saying, no, I don't want to get involved in that.
Yeah.
Look at what you have done in the very few years you've been here. If there was as many of you around here, do you know we would be, oh my God, we'd be like a Mardi Gras parade in New Orleans.
Well, I sure appreciate that, because I'm learning, the service is, like you said before, it's if you're willing to go out there and serve, you get to create the relationships. And when you create the relationships, that's where the influence comes from, because you know people, because you've helped them. And it's, like you said, if we could get more people to see that, instead of I want somebody to give to me now, and I haven't done anything, and then you're mad that they didn't help you out, or they didn't come to your thing, or they didn't do your thing, with you, but you've never been out there just straight out just serving.
That's right.
Which is so important.
That's right. You've never given it unselfishly.
Mm-hmm.
You've never done that. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, if you're not doing that, if you're doing it just to be seen and just to be heard, we know what happens with that. That soon fizzles out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because you're not going to keep on doing it if you don't get what you think, the gratification that you think you ought to be getting. Well, look, I'm gratified every time I go out there to do something. I was trying to get to Fields' announcement on Saturday, I guess it was, and took a wrong turn. And when I got out there, it was really, really very busy because they were having an automobile show too. And I thought, well, I don't know where she is on this over here at the Bicentennial Park, but I sent her another email and said, a voice message, and I said, I'm out here and I have a small donation for you, but I don't know where you are, and I'm not going to get out here and try to find you, walking on a cane. And so, because I know the grass is not very, very stable for me to walk on. But I mean, I wanted to be there because I want people to see I'm behind her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I'm partly city employee, and I'm not supposed to be doing that. But I had on my normal clothes. Of course, I don't have a uniform or anything, but I wanted people to say, well, Barbara was there. I mean, not many people would have said that, but some people would have said, yeah, Barbara, BSB showed up.
Yeah, well, people notice. People do notice. They yeah. And it's so good that you're supporting, and like you said, in the inclusiveness of, it's not just supporting, you're supporting the people who are getting stuff done. You're not, just out there just, making up stuff to try to get your own agenda passed. You're truly finding the people who are making a difference and saying, I want to get behind you. And if more of us would do that, it would be so amazing, like you said. Well, Barbara, we've already been 45 minutes into this now, and I want to have another conversation.
Can we do this again?
Yes, I want to do this again. But I want you to kind of leave us with some final thoughts of what you believe. Somebody who listens to this, or somebody who's saying, I want to make a difference. I want to truly be not just successful, but wealthy in things, just not beyond money, beyond what material things that our planet says makes you successful. Just kind of leave us some knowledge of what you think would be, the steps that somebody should take, or the advice that you would give if we were your mentees and not quite ready to be your divas. What would that be?
Well, the thing I would say to you and to all of us, we were put here for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am a Christian, and I do believe God didn't need all of us out here on this earth or anything. Because let it say, dark, no sun, no moon, no stars, no nothing. We don't know that for sure, except that the Bible says that, and so believers believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't criticize anybody else for not believing. I don't criticize others for having other beliefs. The Jewish community, the Episcopalians, the Catholic. I went to boarding school, so I know more about Catholicism than I know about other things. But I do know this. To whom much is given, much is required.
I love that.
To whom much is given, much is required. And no matter, it doesn't have to be money, doesn't have to be a house, doesn't have to be a car, doesn't have to be clothes, doesn't have to be a church or an organization, but to whom much is given, much is required. So see if you can match it, because you can't outgive God.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. I love that. To whom much is given, much is required. And it is our duty. It is what God has asked us to do, is to go out there and be that beacon of light, and to be that.
That's right.
To be out there.
We have a job to do, so let's do it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I like I said, I thank you so much for being on today, and I want to do this again, and maybe we can get on with some of your mentees next time, and we can
we can do
that.
We can have them sit around in the room and just pass the mic around and just discuss, talk about something that's happening with us, and see what they say about it.
Yeah, I think let's plan that. Let's make that happen, because it came to my my thought right now. We don't do enough of just talking. We do a lot of informing, but we don't do just enough talking.
We don't discuss it, and we don't dissect it.
Yeah.
And we don't listen to what other people are saying about it, because if we get other thoughts, who knows what we might do?
Yeah, well, we'll come out of it, in the things that we're able to accomplish as a result of just taking that time to be in community and have those thoughts. So I will set that up. I will put that together. You have sparked something in me that says that we need to do that, and we'll have that. So again, thank you for being on. I do appreciate it. I can't wait to get it up.
I appreciate you asking me.
Yes,
you gave me a chance to step out of my introvert room, and people say, no, that's not true. I said, let me tell you, God allows me to rise to the occasion.
Which you have, and you've had it in mighty ways. And so I thank you for all the service that you've been to our community. I thank you for the service that you are now. And I thank you for being in that role of influence and helping people make great decisions. So I thank you
too. I thank you too. Well, because you are just a trailblazer. Oh, yes, you are.
Well, thank you.
And I'm so glad I know you.
I'm glad I know you too. So you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will set up our time for our next meeting.
Yeah, please do. Take care.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Well, thank you for tuning into our podcast today. It has been a fantastic opportunity for us to show you exactly what we're trying to do in the community. And that is to help people to make sure that they have the ability to realize home ownership. And so my name is Brian Arnold. I am a lender. I'm with City First Financial. And so if you have questions, I'm not doing this podcast so that we can, rush all the business over to City First Financial. I'm doing this podcast so that we can make sure that you are taken care of, that you have a real estate agent, that you have a loan officer, that you have a credit repair person, that you have an insurance person, that you have a financial advisor, all working with you towards making your home ownership realization happen. We're also going to be talking about, wealth generation and what it means to pass on to the next generation. I do trusts and wills and making sure that the money that you've accumulated during your lifetime actually passes on to the next generation without going through a thing called probate. And so we want to make sure that we have some unique different things that we may have talked about on this thing that can help you think about what that's going to look like. So thank you again for communicating. Go ahead and subscribe to these YouTube channels, whether it's on YouTube that you're watching the video, or if you are just listening to this on a podcast, that you are subscribing to the podcast, because we are going to have some amazing guests that are coming on and some amazing content. So thank you for the blackwealthexperience.org and getting on that and just coming in and listening to us and then taking advantage of the resources that we're hopefully and education that we're hopefully giving to you. So you have a wonderful, awesome, incredible, awestruck day. You are God's greatest gift, and I want to make sure that you know that. Talk with you guys soon.